information. So if we want to have our objects obey this gradient, we're going to need to use blending. So I'm going to go ahead and enable blending, and I'm not going to change any options. By default, it's going to use compositing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply, and now you can see that we have the ability to look at the gradient. But now there's an issue, hopefully that you can see. Yes, we can see through this. It's transparent, and we can see the wall through it, but we cannot see the planes over here. So we cannot see the additional heads as we were able to before with the use blending turned off. So if I go ahead and turn that off, and you can see that yes, we're looking through this object, but we're also able to see the other planes. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that, and it's probably easier to see if we use a different texture. So for our opacity, so let's bring this in. Let's bring in our bar opacity, and we can see here we have black and white strips. I'm going to hit OK, and then here we can clearly now we can clearly see that whenever we look through here, we cannot see any of the other objects that are using blending with the blending modes turned on. So that's just an issue. That's the advantages and disadvantages of just turning on use blending. Just use it, and it's a great option. Just beware that it does have this side effect. But you can see that we can see all other objects within the scene, just not the ones that have use blending turned on. Use blending with the composite turned on. So now we can go ahead and look at this kind of drop down here. So we have composite, which is the option that we have on currently. And the other option is additive. Now, additive is a totally different beast altogether, because with use blending turned off and your material having an opacity and use blending turned on composite mode, you actually will look at the opacity channel of your material. The additive channel, the additive mode, you don't need your material to have a opacity channel at all, because it gets the effect that it does through the diffuse color. So if I were to go ahead here and then turn this on for this section here and hit apply, you can see that even though our opacity has bars on here, we're not getting the bar look. We're kind of getting some weird effect. That we'll kind of go over in just and actually over here on this side. So let's go ahead and let's bring this to composite. We'll hit apply. We'll keep that on for that example, and then for here we can go ahead to this material. Now this material, you can see we just have a gradient applied on our diffuse, and then we're getting this sort of effect because we have use blending additive turned on. At first, it's kind of confusing to figure out what the heck's going on. But with the use of Photoshop, we can really see what's happening with this option. So in this case, let's go ahead and look at the texture behind these our subject, I guess we'll call it, these planes. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the texture, how it is now, and then let's look at the texture through these planes. So if we look at the tongue, for instance, when we look at the tongue and the camera is high looking through the white area, you can see that everything is pretty washed out, meaning that's kind of the opaque area. And as we go down, you can see things are becoming more transparent, but it's not a normal transparency. You can see that we're getting kind of this blown out look. Essentially what's happening is there's some math going on over or under the hood, not over it, under the hood, where it's saying, all right, we're going to look through it, and whatever is white here, we're going to be adding some information to the color that comes through. So in this case, everything's being washed out, and then slowly as the value goes down here, we're able to get more and more information. So you can see it's kind of blown out here, and then we're getting more and more information as we come down, and less is being white. And then as we get down to the bottom, you can see that we just have kind of a slight tint to it. Now we can see that this is a similar behavior if we go ahead and bring over Photoshop. And then we have this over here. If we turn our blending mode to normal for this guy, you can see that this is what we get. And if we go back over here and then turn our blending mode to just off, you can see the texture that we get. So they're roughly identical. So if we were to go ahead, I'm just going to turn this back on. So if we go ahead, go back to Photoshop, and then let's see if I can get this snapped in there. Oh, cool. So if we go ahead to Photoshop and change our blending mode to anything in this section, particularly the linear light, we're going to see a similar effect, with the exception of whatever is black over here is going to be black, where in the previewer it's going to be more or less transparent. So if we were to go ahead and just pay attention to that tongue area again, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of tab down a little bit. Actually, let's just slide this down. So you can see here we're able to come down and we're getting this washed out look, and you're coming up and we're getting kind of an identical feel where we're getting that blown out area from the center of the tongue. So that's roughly what's going on over here. It's kind of a blend mode operation that you would see in Photoshop. Sweet. So you can use these for really cool effects. You just got to get creative with them. Maybe something with glass, because if we go to the avatar here, you can see that as we go lower, the avatar seems normal, but as we get higher to the white values, the avatar becomes washed out. So just get creative. You can use these for beams of light, UFOs and such. Cool. Just cool stuff. So that is the blending modes and the opacities within IMVU.